Hello, hello, hello. Welcome into another episode of Sports Talk Chicago. My name is Joey Christopoulos, filling in for John Zaglul this week. He will be back next week. You can follow me at Joey Sports Guy. Fantastic show coming up here in just a little bit. Just a couple of weeks away before the NFL draft, and we got a great guest. But first, we got to shout out all of our wonderful TV and radio affiliates across the great state of Illinois, like 98.3 The Life, WKAN, 105.5 The Ticket, ACTV, JED TV, WJOB, 92.4 Talk FM Cities, and also one of our new ones, 101.1 Peoria Sports Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in. We got John Meadows in the producer's chair today. If you like, head on over to YouTube and like and subscribe if you're watching this video. Comment and question below. And also, if you want to check us out, podcast form, make sure you go to sportstalkchicago.com or listen to this podcast wherever you find your podcast these days. I'm Joey Christopoulos. We're going to talk NFL draft. We're going to talk Bears. Might try and get into a little Cubs White Sox talk towards the end, but let's bring in our guest today. He's an old friend of mine. I can't wait to talk to him. We always have such a great conversation, and of course, our football teams that we cover continue to cross paths. It seems like every single offseason and sometimes in mid-season. He is the host of BLEAV In Steelers with former Steelers Ike Taylor. He is also the senior multi-platform producer for WRAL in Raleigh, California. That's Drake May country. It's Mark Bergin. How are you, Mark?
I think you mean North Carolina and not California, but I've got you, Joey Christopoulos. And listen, you got the whole state of Illinois listening to your show. It is an honor to be on. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's all to the power of Sports Talk Chicago and what they've been growing over the last couple of years with John. I'm so happy to be on and filling in for him this week. Mark, we're going to talk a lot about the Chicago Bears, but I think, like I was saying pre-pod, you know how when you see a friend maybe after they just get through a messy divorce or a bad breakup, and you don't want to bring it up, but you're so close with that friend that you feel like you have to just maybe do it off the top and get it out of the way. Look, I don't really want to talk about Justin Fields that much more. We're 2 weeks away from the NFL draft, but you do cover the Steelers on the daily. So I am just curious. Let's start it off here. What are the vibes in Pittsburgh among the fan base with the acquisition of Justin Fields in the offseason and, of course, his forthcoming competition with Russell Wilson for the QB1 in Pittsburgh?
Joey, it's as simple as this for me. The Steelers this season are paying less than $5 million for both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. That is an upgrade over Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph, who would be making more money than that. So to me, it's as simple as that of which would you rather have? I'd rather have Wilson and Fields. And talking to you tonight, it's almost like I'm the new boyfriend, you're the old boyfriend. It's like, oh, how's Justin doing? That's how it feels to me.
Great
Thrilled
first couple of days.
Pittsburgh Steelers uniform. He's going to play at some point in the 2024 season. When is anyone's guess because of that conditional pick that'll go back to Chicago?
Yeah, and just maybe a quick follow-up on that, because you're also from the Chicagoland area. You know, you've got some skin in the game here with the Chicago Bears and across Chicago sports. We've talked at length privately a little bit about some of the shortcomings of Justin to end the season. As you kind of see it rolling out right now, do you think Justin not only would benefit from a reset in Pittsburgh, but maybe even benefit sitting for a little while? Because I know a lot of Chicago Bears fans are going to do some comparative language and arguments with Caleb Williams once he drafted. Look, Justin Fields isn't even on the field, but do you think maybe for the health of his career moving forward, Justin Fields may be sitting behind Russell Wilson to start the season, maybe the best move for his career long term?
A 9-time Pro Bowler and a Super Bowl champion. So Russell Wilson's not what he was a few seasons back, but he's performed at the highest level in the NFL. And whether he likes it or not, he's going to have to fulfill that role. I would be very surprised if Wilson's not the starter come week 1 of the 2024 season. Let's be honest, though, Joey, let's look at this both ways. Caleb Williams is coming into a much different situation than Justin Williams came into with this very same Bears organization. So you have to add that caveat in. But Justin Fields, a read option with Najee Harris or a read option with Jaylen Warren, it gets me excited thinking about those possibilities of playing AFC North football, a lot like NFC North football, where November, December, January, it's a different style than what you see earlier on in the year. It's colder. It's harder to tackle guys. The fact that you have to hold defenses accountable The fact with Justin Fields on the field that you have to play 8 men in the box a lot of times. You have to have a spy on him. You have to have eyes on him at all times because he's shown the ability at his peak to take it the distance as long as he has the football in his hands. So you want to see the passing game develop too. Steelers have some weapons. I'll list off, George Pickens is very exciting. Pat Freiermuth also entering a contract season at the tight end position. New OC with Arthur Smith. There is a lot of excitement with the Pittsburgh Steelers and what hopefully will be a revamped offense now that offensive coordinator Matt Canada no longer around.
Excitement, potential possibilities. I think those are words we've used a lot with Justin Fields, but that's part of the frustrating nature is he's entering his 4th year and we're still talking about potential and possibilities. But let's roll it over, Mark, to a more interesting potential and possibilities, this NFL draft that's barreling right around the corner. This episode is airing across our wonderful radio affiliates on a Thursday. Hopefully people are catching it around that time. So we are exactly 2 weeks away until the NFL draft. So I want to kick this off to you. This is a little open-ended, but I think each one there's a compelling case for each one of these guys. But out of the 4 quarterbacks right now, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, JJ McCarthy, which one has you the most intrigued right now, just in terms of draft night, in terms of landing spot, in terms of surprise of, oh man, he's going way earlier than I thought. And you have a little bit of a background with Drake May, watching him in your backyard these last couple of years. So which quarterback has you the most intrigued heading into the draft?
I don't think it's any secret that Caleb Williams will go number 1 overall to the Bears. So let's start under that assumption. So then at number 2 with Washington, new ownership, new GM. They've cleaned house, ton of salary cap space, a lot of offseason moves in free agency. Do you want to go with the ties that Jaden Daniels has, or do you want to go with Drake May? And for me, if I'm the Commanders at number 2, I go with Drake May because he's your prototypical size and stature of which kind of quarterbacks have had success in the NFL. 6'4", 220, 230 and some change. Where I look at Jaden Daniels, you see a 6'4", very slight of frame and had a ton of talent around him at LSU, probably has higher upside, but that slight of frame, really not knowing how to slide. Okay, what did that do with Anthony Richardson? Again, I look at a quarterback of Drake May's size and stature. You've had success with that style of quarterback in the league. So if I'm Washington, don't overthink this, right? And I still think that Jaden Daniels can be a fine prospect. The same with JJ McCarthy. I think it's Caleb Williams at the number 1 in a tier to himself. I think May and Daniels are in that second tier, and I think J.J. McCarthy's just a shade behind, also a little bit of sleight of frame. But given the quarterback, the needs for good quarterback play, McCarthy will probably go in the top 10 as well. So we see quarterback right off the top. I believe it was the 2021 draft the last time we saw that. Doesn't happen very often, but I do think that's how it will shake out with Chicago, Washington, and New England, the first 3 picks of the draft. And then New England's going to be stuck with, okay, whether it's May or Daniels at number 2, are they going to be happy with who they're left with from the Patriots standpoint? Because New England needs a quarterback as well.
Yeah, that's what's so intriguing about the Patriots at number 3 is, everyone assumes that they'll just take whoever's left, but they have to be in love with both of the guys at 3 to have that conviction to want to get into that spot in the first place. And if it's not, we're already talking about possibly the number 4 pick with the Arizona Cardinals being for sale, the Los Angeles Chargers pick at number 5 being for sale. Do the New England Patriots have that conviction on both of those guys that they're going to lock in at 3? I think that's another interesting aspect too as well.
And let me piggyback off this too, because there's going to be Bears fans listening to you, Joey, that says, Drake May, North Carolina, how's he any different than Mitch Trubisky? Different coaching staff. Trubisky was a 1-year starter. Drake May was a 2-year starter at Carolina. Totally different prospects. Completely different. So people that say, the commonality, a North Carolina quarterback, I want to put that notion to bed from the jump, Joey. Different coaching staffs, different schemes. Again, more college experience in terms of actually playing the quarterback position. I want to put that narrative to bed before it even starts.
Yeah, this could be speculation, and this also could be a poorly phrased question because you just might say, I don't know. But I have seen a lot of reports this week that clearly everyone can confirm that the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams have had dinner several times. They've taken a rickshaw. They've done the architecture tour. You know what I'm saying? In Chicago, like, we know that those two guys have met together. There have been several reports that the Chicago Bears did meet with Jaden Daniels during his pro day, but no one on the planet can confirm whether the Chicago Bears met with Drake May. Is that something? Nothing? I mean, in my opinion, I just think the Chicago Bears are so locked in on Caleb. It makes me probably question more, why would you even meet with Jaden if you're not going to meet with Dre? I mean, I don't know how to make sense of that.
I would turn over all of your rocks and all of your stones, because when they drafted Mitch Trubisky in that very same draft, why didn't they do their due diligence with Deshaun Watson? Why didn't they do their due diligence with Patrick Mahomes? And I'm talking about the Deshaun Watson that was absolutely tearing it up with the Houston Texans and was had a 24-0 lead against Patrick Mahomes in that playoff game a few years ago. So I'm of the thought process, turn over all of your rocks, all of your stones, leave no stone left unturned. That's what I would say. Having even said all of that, though, Caleb Williams is the guy, and that is a consensus. We might look back on it differently with years to come. I know Bears fans always love to point out of, we haven't had a quarterback throw for 30 touchdowns in a single season. We haven't had a quarterback throw for 4,000 yards in a single season. Caleb Williams is coming into a very favorable situation. Again, it is night and day, the difference between the situation he's coming into and the situation that Justin Fields came into. So Caleb Williams is getting the opportunity for success, even if the Bears decide to do something different at number 9 and not get Williams another weapon. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, who's coming over, 2 pretty good targets. Cole Kmet solid, and then you've got depth at the running back too. So it's much, much different, and that's kind of how I take into account all of that, Joey. I'm rambling now.
No, it's okay. There's a couple of street free agents too as well, like a Hunter Renfrow, Tyler Boyd. Well, let's say the Chicago Bears move down and then go into the number 9 pick. They could still maybe bring in a veteran to sort of fortify that unit for another year, get another bite at the apple next year when they have 2 second-round picks, sort of roll it forward from there. So, yeah, it's funny. It's such a fait accompli that Caleb Williams is the number 1 pick, that this is kind of like, I don't know the right analogy here, but it sort of feels like an ocean that's swaying different ways. And for a couple weeks, it was all about Caleb, but now in the Chicago narrative, it is all about the number 9 pick, which I feel like is going to shift back to Caleb probably next week as we get closer and closer to the draft. But right now, all Chicago Bears fans are thinking about and talking about is that number 9 pick. So I want to start here. Buy or sell the J.J. McCarthy trade talk, specifically at picks number 4 with Arizona, picks number 5 possibly with the Los Angeles Chargers. The Minnesota Vikings have been rumored. Denver Broncos have possibly been rumored. I want to get your take on whether you buy that from J.J. McCarthy as a player, whether you buy one of these teams like Minnesota actually paying 11 and 23 to move up for J.J. McCarthy, because for the Chicago Bears, I think 4 quarterbacks in the top 10 is one of the ideal scenarios that they need to happen to possibly get one of the top players available on their board.
If I'm the Bears, go get another receiver. Like, load up. Like, if you're going to go all in, go all in. Yeah. Like, if that's either Rome Odunze or Malik Neighbors at number 9, take that player. And, okay, why do you do that? DJ Moore isn't old. He's not exactly young either, coming off a career year. Good target, good number 1. I like him. Keenan Allen's in the final year of his deal. So if he doesn't want to stick around in Chicago, or you have a young receiver learn from 2 guys when they've been on the field, have performed at a very high level in the NFL, load up. Other teams do it. I mean, Baltimore's done it. In the AFC North, I see Cincinnati, where it's like the success that Joe Burrow has, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Are you kidding me? And try to stop that. And what that does to help out your defense when you've got playmakers on your offensive side of the ball that can put up points consistently against anybody. So, okay, yeah, trade up for J.J. McCarthy and then trade back to get who? I get that you're always going to have holes to fill with your team. But to me, go make it as comfortable as possible for Caleb Williams in a draft where there's a lot of receiver depth. And you might say, hey, Mark, you might be able to get someone just as good in the second or third round. I get that. A lot of receiver depth, a lot of offensive tackle depth as well. So that to me what I would prioritize if I was the Bears. If it's Odunze or Malik Neighbors and either of those players is available at number 9, I have no hesitation if I'm Ryan Poles and in the Bears front office to say, that's our guy at number 9. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of people wrapping their heads around the historical nature of the wide receivers and when they're taken in drafts, right? It's so easy to say we can just find somebody in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. And granted, there are tons of great examples, like Kevin Fishbane of The Athletic listed the top 10 wide receivers, the top 10 salaries of the wide receivers right now. And I think maybe only 2 or 3 of them were actually taken in the 1st round. The rest of the guys are probably 2nd and 3rd round guys. I get it. You get those situations all the time. But for every time that you roll the dice on that, you have a Velus Jones Jr. You have I'm blanking on Calvin Ridley's brother's name. The other Ridley that the Chicago Bears tried to draft that didn't work out. That happens all the time. And I hear you with Malik Neighbors and Roman Dunze. They're definitely going to probably need J.J. McCarthy to somehow get into that top 10 somehow, which gives you 4 quarterbacks in the top 10. And then you would have to think that 1 or 2 of the defensive ends and 1 of the offensive tackles is off the board, and then they might get an opportunity at that. One of the other
positional value, though.
Yeah.
It's positional value, though, Joey. And to kind of put a bow on this is like, okay, wide receiver, offensive tackle, edge rusher, corner, quarterback. Those are your positions that have the highest value, right? So, okay, edge rusher is another need. There's not a guy at number 9 for the value of that pick that, in my opinion, that would say that player is worth the 9th overall pick without trading back. So maybe that's your logic if you're Chicago, but if Keenan Allen's then going to be a free agent after the 2024 season, and I get that even DJ Moore might be a piece for Caleb Williams for 2 or 3 years after Caleb would be a rookie. I get that. No one lasts for forever. Father Time's undefeated. Make that as smooth of a process as possible, though. And then, if you get a stud rookie receiver this year, Keenan Allen wants to leave in free agency. Okay, no sweat. You already have depth there with whoever the rookie would be and DJ Moore. That's my logic.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of Bears fans, we should be really excited that Keenan Allen is on the team, but we also have to have a perspective that he is, as you're describing, he is a stopgap. He's going to be 32 years old when we start week 1. He's under a 1-year deal right now. They could restructure.
He hasn't stayed healthy.
It could turn it into it too. And then that's the big one. He hasn't been healthy. He hasn't played a full slate of games, I believe, in about 3 or 4 years. So they're going to have to be some other guys that are going to step up. And even when you look at that, when you look at the football card and you're like, 14 games, that's not that bad. Those 3 games are huge, right? We're just talking about this now because it's the offseason. Once you start playing those games on Sunday, missing those games are huge, and you never know when that's going to occur, whether it's going to come down to a wild card or a division or a playoff. To your point, with the offensive line, the defensive end, and the wide receiver, the Bears are in a really good shape with those 2 top picks in the top 10 because, look, get Brock Bowers out of your mind, all right? Because the idea is you have to draft these guys that are eventually going to have that market value of, as you said, a market value of over $20 million a year. So if you look at the Chicago Bears salary cap right now, on defense alone, on the cap next year, they have Montez Sweat, Jalen Johnson, and Tremaine Edmonds. Those guys are combined for $60 million on the cap. Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Cole Kmet are going to count against $50 million in the cap. So there is a possibility to say, well, maybe we'd be better off, especially with Keenan Allen coming off. Where are we putting our big dollars right now? Seems like they're all on defense. And if Keenan Allen comes off that book, that number goes down even more. So I'm leaning offensively right now, whether it is offensive line or whether it is the wide receiver.